People want a different type of shopping experience.
Introducing New Horizon Mall.
You know, owning a store in a mall is one way to secure your future.
Developers say 99% of the stores are now sold.
I found it's a kind of like exciting opportunity.
He admits he's nervous. Now that it's built, will they come?
Registrations are running high at New Horizon Mall.
It is pretty empty and quiet right now.
While the cavernous mall remains largely empty, developers insist it's all part of the process.
So we've been in a tailspin ever since this mall opened.
Walking through New Horizon Mall in the fall of 2022, you'd be forgiven if you thought it had just opened a couple of days ago. The long, bright corridors are practically empty, and it's eerily quiet. New Horizon, however, has been open for more than 4 years, and as you can see, there are only a handful of stores occupying the more than 500 vendor stalls. The rest have either been abandoned or have never been occupied at all. From the outset, New Horizon seemed to have a lot going for it. It's just 20 minutes from Calgary, an affluent city of 1.5 million people, and the concept was based on the successful Pacific Mall in Toronto, where individual vendors bought their stalls and run their businesses with the benefit of a high-traffic storefront. Traditional malls rent out their vendor spaces, but New Horizon operates more like a condominium. Each vendor stall is individually owned, and fees are paid to manage and upkeep the facility as a whole. All the units at New Horizon were sold before the mall opened, but 4 years later, the vast majority are still empty. It's only because of the condo-like structure that the doors stay open. Owners continued to pay fees for their empty units, bought in anticipation of spendthrift shoppers that never came. So, what happened? There's no way of knowing for sure why the concept that was so successful in other iterations didn't work here, but there are a few things we can point to better understand why this dead mall was never really alive to begin with. Developers started pre-selling units as early as October 2013. The Alberta economy was booming at the time, and with a growing population reaping the rewards of a strong energy industry, there was a lot of money being made and a lot of money being spent. But it was a different story by the end of 2014. The economy in Alberta had taken a turn, driven downward by plummeting oil prices and creating an uncertain environment for anyone looking to open a business that targeted customers with large disposable incomes. And with a projected construction time of up to 4 years, it was a long time before people who bought into the mall's concept could see any return. So how did the developer manage to sell every single space? In 2016, Global News published a story citing 3 buyers: a 27-year-old hairstylist who bought a unit for $370,000, a pair of laid-off accountants who pooled their severance money to buy a $500,000 unit, and a businessman who spent $1 million on 2 food court stalls. With the exception of the hairstylist, both of the other purchasers quoted by Global News were speculative investors. Neither had any intention of actually running a store in the mall. They intended on renting out the space. The excessive surplus of empty storefronts seems to confirm that being retail landlords is what most of the buyers had in mind. Units are presently listed for sale at $150,000 to $200,000, with rental prices as low as $300 per month. For now, at least, it seems as though those investments have yielded little, if any, return. The fact that speculative investors scooped up most of the stalls seems to be one of the major factors that contributes to the high vacancy. Ideally, the units would have been purchased by people who were eager to move into the storefront and get their businesses up and running as soon as possible. Investors couldn't, and still can't, rent their spaces, and there was little value in shoppers visiting New Horizon for the small number of stores that were open. So, no one came, and no one comes. Developers compared New Horizon to a similar and successful retail concept in Toronto, the Pacific Mall. But as you can see, there's a significant difference in the locations and surroundings of the two malls. The Pacific Mall is in the middle of a densely populated area with direct access off a main thoroughfare and bus stops close by. New Horizon is outside the city of Calgary, set back from the major highway, and there's no public transportation access whatsoever. New Horizon is also positioned right next door to another mall, Cross Iron Mills. Cross Iron is packed with well-known stores and is larger, nicer, and just plain better. Developers and investors alike pointed to the success of Cross Iron Mills as evidence that shoppers would indeed venture outside the city to shop. But this is what Cross Iron looked like the same weekday afternoon I was recording at New Horizon. Shoppers indeed make the trek, but they do so for stores like Coach and Bass Pro Shop. So far, there's been nothing at New Horizon that makes them want to add a stop to their retail road trip. One more note about location. The New Horizon website says the mall is located just 1 block from Alberta's first Amazon fulfillment center. I can actually see it from where I'm standing. So is the implication that most of the stock in the stores will be coming from Amazon, or that most will be going out through the Amazon warehouse? Either way, if the success of your business is impacted by proximity to an Amazon warehouse, you probably don't need a physical storefront to begin with. After construction was complete, owners started taking possession of their stalls in May of 2018. 4 months later, Global News reported that only 9 stores were open. The failure of the mall's opening was widely covered in the Calgary news media and on social media, with a video from Best Edmonton Mall on YouTube published in November of 2018 highlighting the emptiness of the mall and currently sitting at about 725,000 views. Now, by no stretch is Reddit the arbiter of public opinion, but as a flavor of how the mall is perceived by local shoppers, it's interesting to see their comments. In the most recent thread about the mall from August of 2022, the most upvoted comment describes the mall as brickandmortarwish.com. Other comments include, "It's annoying to find a store in there, even if you know what you're looking for. It failed because it was run like a scam, and instead of trying to fill the space with tenants, they enticed investors treating square footage like condos. It's basically a physical AliExpress, the most random stores selling random things." A small sample size, to be sure, and not entirely accurate based on the open stores that I saw, but the reputation of the mall has been very poor since day one, and no one from the developer's marketing team or the mall's management team seems to be doing anything about it. Lastly, it's a sad fact that a dead mall begets a deader mall. It's hard to bring people and businesses back to a place that has such a poor public perception and has been, at least from a retail standpoint, a spectacular failure since it opened. The empty halls feel like they're haunted by ghosts of dreams that died with the mall's failure. Every closed storefront is someone's time, effort, energy, and money that didn't return any benefit. Every for lease sign is the tombstone of an investor who thought this would be a good place to park their money. And as for the shops that are open, while some owners are doing their best to keep themselves afloat, others seem to have given up altogether and aren't even present during opening hours. New Horizon is a mausoleum, and entombed within it are the optimism and ambition of investors and entrepreneurs. The sense of defeat is palpable when you walk the hallways. It's uncomfortable to be in there. It's depressing, it's awkward, and it's miserable. And if that's how shoppers feel 4 years after your mall is opened, how do you come back from that? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.